What if we told you that many of the superpowers that superheroes in comic books and television shows possess actually exist in real life? Yes, superpowers are real and aren't limited to works of fiction, TV shows, and comic books. Some people in the world are endowed with unique abilities that their peers can only imagine. Of course, these unique abilities pale in comparison to the exaggerated superpowers you see in comic books. But given the right conditions and a better understanding of their extraordinary capabilities, what better way to learn how to control a superpower than when it first manifests in childhood? Granted, not all superpowers will manifest in childhood, but every superhero has a backstory. And this is the tale of 10 children with real superpowers. These real-life superpowers have the potential to manifest in ways you could never have imagined. The third is extraordinary. Number 10. Nongyouhui. Night vision. Vision at night. Everyone was astounded to see that their son, nongyouhui, had bright blue eyes because they themselves had black eyes. Much like their parents before them, the small child was born in a secluded village in China. The boy's eyes are noteworthy because they change from a reflected neon green to a neon green when a light is flashed on them. This is a feature unique to cats and other nocturnal creatures. Yet nongyouhui, like cats, can see in the dark. A layer of specialized cells at the rear of the eyes that function as retroreflectors allows for improved night vision. Although nongyouhui does not have these specialized cells, he is still able to see in very small quantities of light. This was demonstrated in a test where the YOUHUI was required to complete a questionnaire while sitting in a dark room. Essentially, this means that any light that enters the eye is reflected back through the retina, providing additional light for lighting objects in the dark. Number 9. Brocbrown. Incredible Hulk. At 5 feet 2 inches when he was still in kindergarten, this Michigan boy measured an impressive 7 feet 8 inches at the age of 19. Most astonishingly, though, brocbrown never stopped growing, with his growth rate recorded at 6 inches per year. To measure him, you'll need a stool. If you love Dr. Bruce Banner, you can't help but think of the Hulk when you see how extraordinarily tall and muscular brocbrown is. He's kind-hearted and has a large heart, just like Bruce Banner's alter ego, the Hulk. However, unlike Dr. Banner, this child is incapable of shrinking from a giant to a typical teen size. He will consistently purchase size 28 shoes and tailor-made clothing. And no matter where he travels, he will always be the tallest person in the room. Number 8. NIKOLAI Kryaglyachenko MAGNETO. The 12-year-old boy, Kryaglyachenko MAGNETO Nikolai, was an ordinary boy in Russia with nothing particularly remarkable about him. However, everything changed when the boy was struck by a powerful electric shock from a malfunctioning wire hanging from the lamppost he was leaning on. The shock nearly killed him, but he lived, and later on, he realized that the accident had given him superpowers. Metallic things adhered to his skin as if he were Michael Fassbender from the X-Men. The comic book-loving child had originally intended to become a police officer, but switched to being a superhero after realizing he had superpowers. What a fascinating tale, but according to some scientists, the youngster just had exceptionally sticky skin, therefore, they didn't buy it. This boy has such magnetism, or extremely sticky skin on his chest that he can hold a frying pan up without any other contact. Number 7. DEEPAK ELECTRO. When you see this boy from India touch a live wire with his tongue, you might assume he's making a death wish, but in actuality, DEEPAKjangra can withstand up to 11,000 volts, which is only possible through a high-voltage overhead transmission line. Imagine the damage that can be caused by a supply 100 times more powerful than your average household voltage. If a shock of 110 or 240 volts can cause internal burning or fibrillation, just think of the damage that can be caused by a supply 100 times. But this kid doesn't seem to get shocked or any form of damage from electricity the first time he released that he was able to withstand a lot of electric power flowing through his body. In an attempt to test his electrical threshold, he was so thrilled that he filled a bucket with water and dropped a live wire from a 440-volt supply into it. He then submerged his hand in the water, but nothing happened to him. Everyone in the village was clearly in awe of the boy's superpower, and even began referring to him as Electro. But nobody saw coming that the bow would actually scale an electric pole and touch an 11,000-volt high-voltage wire to test his body's tolerance. At this point, there's no question that the bow is a true human electricity insulator. Number 6. JINLONG Super Strength. Extreme power if you need your heavy wheat or cement stacks loaded onto a truck. JINLONG will sling those 220-pound sacks on his back and have them loaded wherever you need them. This incredible video of a 7-year-old boy from a rural province in China went viral. The boy weighed only 110 pounds, but he was growing remarkably fast. He'd challenge himself to some hard and demanding feats to see how strong he was getting. The kid was obviously gifted, and he used his superpowers for more than just towing vehicles. Although he is still a young child, and you cannot hire him just yet, it is astonishing that he can lift 220-pound bags without breaking a sweat. Yang's most amazing display of strength has to be when he carried his 198-pound father around their house. I'm sure he outperformed all of his buddies in a tug-of-war. Number 5. NANDANA NIKOLAI, mind reader. The mind reader NIKOLAI medical professionals from all over the world were astounded by this young child who was said to possess psychic powers. When word spread that the 7-year-old daughter could read her mother's thoughts without physically touching her or using any other medium, NANDANA's unique skill first surfaced. Her narrative drew interest from thousands of people worldwide. Madonna's parents were as perplexed by everyone else as they were interested in seeing if their daughter could read minds as well as her mother's. But it turned out that she just had the unique bond with her mother. As was to be expected, the girl's mother was given a number of items to read aloud in her mind, including a cell phone number, a random sentence, and a grade to poem that the girl had never seen before. Apparently, the girl passed all the tests and demonstrated to the world that she could, in fact, access her mother's thoughts and emotions, a superpower that, according to her mother, has strengthened their mother-daughter bond when her extraordinary superpowers were put to the test. Number 4. HOEKSTRA-SUPER strong toddler. Really powerful toddler when he was just 5 months old. Liam's extraordinary strength was first demonstrated at that age. He could already do the iron cross, pace up and downstairs without assistance, and dominate the channel bar. At 1 year old, Liam was playing with 5-pound dumbbells, throwing them across the house like they were paperweights. The Bo's story is quite interesting, with twists similar to those used by DC Comics special creators to introduce new superhero characters. The report revealed that Liam was born with a rare myostatin condition known as muscle hypertrophy, which means that their baby Bo would develop more muscle mass and have little to no body fat, essentially meaning that the Bo would always be muscular without having to do much to keep it up. He was soon adopted, and his adoptive parents had a medical checkup because they felt the Bo appeared too strong for a toddler. Number 3. Boris KIPRIYANOVICH, peculiar alien Bo. Strange Bo from space. Yes, he is a child who is not from Earth. Boris, also known by his nickname, has baffled experts and thousands of people just like you by claiming that he was a Martian before he was born to his Earth-dwelling human parents. The Bo's impressive knowledge of Mars and his apparent grasp of the galaxy's contents were too much for a 3-year-old. Boris claimed that he remembered a great deal of his previous life on Mars, and that he gained all that knowledge from it. He frequently discussed his life prior to his birth on Earth, particularly the period before a full-scale conflict broke out. I'm not sure if that qualifies as a superpower, but the fact that he could recall his previous life as an alien raises the possibility that he could one day become a real-life Superman. He claimed that the war had destroyed Martian civilization, and that everyone on the planet had to seek shelter underground. Number 2. TABLATE, firestarter. A 3-year-old girl from the antique province of Western Biases in the Philippines, but she can set things on fire with the power of her mind. She was having a relatively normal childhood until people began to associate her with fires that would start wherever she went. The local community did not take this lightly, and the police had to cordon off the house where she stayed with her parents. While they investigated the matter, the girl's abilities apparently turned heads. When the town mayor visited the home, it seemed the girl said something was going to catch fire. The pearl only needed to say the Filipino word for fire to set a shirt hanging in the house on fire while the mayor was still inside. This was similar to how Daenerys Targaryen would command her dragons, but with Emma's tablet there are no fire-breathing dragons. Instead, she possesses pyrokinesis, a psychic ability. Number 1. Anna BELYSH-ARCHERY. Archaeological, the 19-year-old Russian girl, whose skill with a bow and arrow has amazed thousands of people worldwide, is not only an avid archer but also a gifted acrobat. Some of her stunts require an extraordinary level of flexibility, which requires practice and dedication. Anna BELYSH's superpower is similar to that of the Playboy vigilante Oliver Queen. You may recall Oliver Queen from the hit series era, along with a number of other well-known superheroes from the Hunger Games and the Avengers. When a video of her launching an arrow while holding a bow in her feet and standing on her hands went viral, she became famous overnight. You watched the entire video, but we really want to see you again. If you click the bell and subscribe icons, we'll always let you know when another amazing film like this one appears. We also have a ton of other videos that you will adore.